Okay, let's talk about the next thing on our list here. The trailer for Rebel Moon. I know that you are so excited for this, Brendan. So tell me your thoughts on Zack Snyder's new film, Rebel Moon. What did you think of the trailer?
Can we make this a 30-second segment before we move on to something else?
Yeah, sure.
I don't know. Trailers, whatever. The movie just looks like a Dune ripoff that you'd see a direct-to-video like thing in like Blockbuster. Like you remember like you used to see all those like knockoff sci-fi movies that were clearly ripoffs of classic movies, and it would say like I don't know, like Jaws 7 or something like that.
Yeah.
That's
You
what
think it's
this
that?
movie. That's what this felt like to me.
Wow. Okay.
Now then again, take this with a small grain of salt, I guess, because I'm not really the biggest Zack Snyder fan. I still think the two best movies he's ever done are Dawn of the Dead and The Legend of the Guardians, the Owls of Ga'Hoole, whatever it's called. I can't even remember the name, but I think it's one of his better movies.
Yeah.
No, so yeah,
I'm with you.
I don't know. The trailer just reeked of familiarity in a way that felt kind of like the guy didn't really think he was trying to be familiar.
Well, that's where I find this hilarious. I wish that he would have dropped this before we did last week's episode, because this is a movie that will absolutely put that theory to the test.
Yes.
It's not what a movie is about, it's how it's about it. We talked about that so much. It's an ethos of the show. It's how we look at film criticism. I don't care what a movie is trying to do. I don't care what it's about. It's how it's about an execution. And I was thinking about that so heavily because we had just released that episode last week when this trailer dropped, and it was testing my patience. I'm not going to lie. I don't love Zack Snyder like a lot of other people do. I wasn't blown away by this trailer either. However, I do want to keep an open mind because
I'm trying
the same ideas we talked about last week. However, and I don't know if this is just more humorous than anything else. I don't really know, but Zack Snyder, God love him or hate him, who knows? But he is intensely brazen about wearing his influences. Like, he just does not care. Like, he introduces lightsabers into this movie and just doesn't care to make it any different. Like, these are Star Wars lightsabers. I don't care. I'm not trying to be different. That's what they are.
It makes me so mad, and I don't know if I should shake his hand or punch him in the face for that.
Well, and this is where I think maybe, and again, I'm presuming, and I will gladly change my tone if the film comes out and it's different than what I'm about to lay out here. But I think that's where, thinking about this film in execution, where it could become troublesome, because if in execution it is a Star Wars ripoff, if it is a Dune ripoff, which is what it seems to be, again, very brazenly, then I think it's very fair to criticize him. Excuse me. I think it's very fair to criticize him even inside that ethos we talked about last week. So I'm simply waiting it out at this point. I want to see what it is, but if that's all this comes to be, is a visually interesting, at times, movie that is ultimately a Dune and Star Wars and even a little bit of Fury Road ripoff going on here, then I can't say that I'm going to
Rebel Blender.
I
mean, I guess the title is appropriate. I mean, I guess Snyder is a bit of a rebel in that regard.
He is a little bit of a rebel in that regard, but I mean, it's hard not to see the influences. He doesn't care. A lot of people ate it up, but like, it's going to take more than that to get me excited. When, like, it's one thing to take something like Star Wars or Dune that you love, and you want to reintroduce elements of those films, but you do it in a way that feels like it has its own identity. Movies do that all the time, and I have no problem with films or filmmakers that want to do that. My issue with Rebel Moon is that Zack Snyder isn't doing anything to create a new identity. It is
Yeah.
Dune and Star Wars and lightsabers. There's nothing to identify itself from those two movies, at least
Well,
based off this trailer.
yeah, and also considering the full title of this movie, I don't know if you saw that. It's called Rebel Moon Part 1. But then there's also a subtitle there called A Child of Fire. So it's it's doing similar things.
Yeah, so that's where in execution I might find this film, leaving a lot to be desired, because
Yeah.
as it is, the Star Wars lightsabers in the trailer doesn't get me excited, because
Yeah.
like, if you want to reintroduce that in a different way, that's fine. I'm okay with that. But he didn't do that. He just stole
No.
them. Flat out
Well,
stole them.
it makes me think, would I react any differently to this trailer if it weren't a Zack Snyder film? Would I actually be a bit more agitated by it? But knowing that it is Zack Snyder, who wears his influences so brazenly on his sleeve to the point of frustration, does that make it more tolerable, or does that even make me angrier? I don't even know.
I kind of admire it in some ways, like, to
Yeah.
be so direct with it, like, and maybe it's the trailer and how it's trying to tap into the momentum that that was Dune, that's been Star Wars over the decades,
Mhm.
because this trailer makes it seem like it is Dune, like this is a
Well,
Dune
yeah.
movie.
The thing that worries me
no
the
hiding
most,
it.
it's no hiding. But the thing that worries me the most, to get even further away from the influences that Snyder is clearly riffing on, the big thing that I didn't like about his last movie, Army of the Dead, which I still stand by as my least favorite Zack Snyder film, it was the fact that Snyder was also the cinematographer.
Mm, yeah.
I just did not think that was a very good looking movie. I at least applauded his attempt at doing some unique things with the camera, as far as the camera choice that he was using, the camera itself, but it didn't yield a very palatable product. And it's not supposed to be palatable, but it's an ugly film in the wrong ways.
Mm.
And I'm kind of getting similar vibes from Rebel Moon, also knowing that he is acting as cinematographer once
He
again.
is the cinematographer.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
I just don't think he should be doing that. It's like some directors work best when they don't write their own scripts. In his case, he's not at his best when he shoots his own movies at the same time.
Yeah, I think that's very fair, and maybe he shouldn't write. I don't really know. I know he's part of
we
the
know he
team
shouldn't
here.
write. We already know
Yeah.
that.
Yeah, I mean, and I think that's maybe where I'm a little frustrated, because I do think there is, at least at times in his movies, there is a visual intuitiveness that I can admire in a vacuum. However, I do think that he loses himself in that too often as a storyteller.
I agree.
And in this case for Rebel Moon, he's not doing anything to distinct himself. This is placing the camera in a way that might evoke some alluring imagery.
Yeah.
That, again, on its own terms might be compelling, but in the context of a movie that has lore that is so, that, again, it's not even just it's an influence, it is stolen.
Yeah,
It
that's
is
true.
flat
That's
out
true.
stolen. There's nothing that I saw in this trailer that is distinctive, that takes an idea and reinvigorates it in a new way, as a good filmmaker should do. That's not what he's just flat out stealing.
Yeah.
And it's hard. So it's hard for me to get excited for this
I'm with
movie.
you. I just went on Google and Googled Dune ripoff movies. I'm looking at some of these posters like Dune Drifter and Planet Dune, and it's like, yeah, this is giving me Rebel Moon vibes. It really
Okay.
is.
Okay. I mean, I'll keep an open mind, but we'll see. We'll definitely see.
I'll try as well. I really will.